March 3rd, 2017. The Nintendo Switch releases with one game, Breath of the Wild. It releases to critical acclaim, most of it about the huge open world, on the go, and the freedom to do whatever you want. However, the freedom left something out, something important. The story. It was completely optional. Once you beat the tutorial, you can just head straight for Ganon. However, most people don't hate themselves, so they get all the divine beasts. Most of the story comes from memories placed around the map. I got them all, but how many people did? And the story told was lackluster. Upon this realization, Zelda fans were outraged, rioting in the streets. Enter Age of Calamity. Hyrule Warriors gameplay is based on the Warriors series. This is a style of gameplay that pretty much sums up as, here are all these enemies, have fun. The gameplay is definitely the best part of the game. It feels very refined with tons of combos you can pull off and 18 different characters to choose from. Each character has their own set of specific moves that makes them different and unique to play. Zelda sucks, Urbosa has lightning, Revali can fly, Mipha has this crazy aerial spin attack, and Daruk has this. I love it. I played as Link the entire time because he seemed like a good mix between what all the characters had to offer. However, the first third of the game before Calamity's return doesn't have anything too difficult about it. The longer it kept on going, the more I was getting tired of it, but then he does return. That's when it does get challenging. A lot of the challenge is how good your reflexes are, and the ability to stay focused. It isn't hard for you to die, so you always have to be on guard. There is this one dub level though, where in order to continue you have to beat Thunder by Ganon. Easy. Well, not when you are also being attacked by a Lionel and 2 Guardians. There's a difference between difficult and stupidly annoying. And well, this was stupidly annoying. Sometimes you do have to fight 2 enemies at once, and those are much more balanced. The only downside to the gameplay I would say is controlling the Divine Beasts. Compared to the range of movement you get on the ground, piloting the Divine Beast feels like you regressed into this hunk of metal. And I know that's technically what they are, but it still isn't fun. And the levels where you control them aren't drawn out or difficult. Most of the time I found myself spamming. The game took me around 27 hours to beat, and I just played the story, though there is a ton of content to do besides the main storyline. The amount of Breath of the Wild content that has been shoved into this game is impressive. There are side levels, training, and outposts where you can level up. You can get a bunch of items to unlock outposts, and you can make recipes for bonus effects during battle. For those who collected your 900 Korok seeds for a turn in Breath of the Wild, can rejoice in collecting 134 more for who knows what. The presentation is pretty good. It is very similar to Breath of the Wild, but it is impressive that Nintendo handed over their assets. The game does sometimes have some frame rate drops, but it never bothered me at all. And depending on what enemy you fight, there are different animations for the weak point smash. The music is also good. All the songs I paid attention to were nice. Many of the battle songs are themes from Breath of the Wild in a different arrangement. However, the worst arrangement of Zelda's Lullaby has been confirmed. The story. That's what everybody is here for. Spoiler warning, I've warned you. The introduction is about what you expect. The champions are introduced and they get their divine beasts. But then you get into the meat of the story. It's the same as it is in Breath of the Wild. Zelda not being able to awaken her power and feeling as if she has let everybody down. Calamity Ganon shows up, and that's when the story kicks into high gear, and when it threw me for a loop. Because there is time travel. The egg, which has done nothing but supply information, sends characters from Breath of the Wild to save the champions. The characters from the future save the champions, yet fight more battles, and then there is the big final battle. And this is where they drop the ball. If you played Breath of the Wild, you think you would know how Age of Calamity would end. That's what I wanted, but that didn't happen. They beat Ganon. Because this canon prequel to Breath of the Wild takes place in an alternate universe. I'm not a genius in storytelling, but I don't think that's how it works. I know one game that I've played that occurs in an alternate universe. The difference is one little word that makes it much more understandable. I personally think that having this alternate universe ending is the worst direction the story could have taken. I don't think this game should have had a happy ending. Everybody thought that everything would go wrong. Not every story needs to have a game-changing revelation, and they could have used the player's knowledge of what has happened to their advantage. Maybe spending less time on Zelda's dilemma, which we have already explored, would have opened the opportunity to have the champions have characterization and make them feel multi-dimensional. This could have made us feel that we don't want the characters to die, even though it is inevitable, and make the future character's appearance a much bigger relief. They tried to create something emotional out of the egg's fake-out death, but, it's an egg. And when the characters from the future show up, they seem to have no purpose. They show up, save the champions' lives, and then you get to play as them. They don't have to have major roles, but they don't need to be thrown out of the window after they are introduced. They could have some time with the champions they have heard about their entire lives. This idea was explored, but they didn't scratch the surface. The story wasn't bad, but I don't think it justified an entire new game for it to be told. Maybe I would have liked the alternate ending more if they did something cool with it, but I don't think they did. It isn't a bad game, and I enjoyed my time, but I doubt seeing myself going back to play it. It gets a 2 out of 3, but if they made the story I wanted, it could have gotten higher. The gameplay was fun, but I felt like it had wasted potential. It could have had a much more emotionally weighted story about the heroes and champions that paid the ultimate price so they could see the world at peace.